Okay, so starting off, this is a Lancia Beta Monte Carlo. This is chassis 1003. So this is one of the factory works cars. And this never had any first place finishes under the Lancia factory team, but it did finish second at Brands Hatch in '79. And this team won the championship for the 2.0 class in 1979, and later won overall in 1980. So these things beat the Porsches. Super lightweight car. Greenhouse is pretty much based off an 037. As you can see, you got the drivers here. Seems to be in original condition. And in 1981, this car was later privateered and it won Monza. So I got some good history on this chassis. I don't think this thing is ever going to run again though. The engine is flooded from what I'm aware of, and parts are too hard to get. So this thing is probably going to stay static for the rest of its life. But super cool Group 5 car, one of my favorites, without a doubt. So it's almost impossible not to talk about this right here. This is a Pikes Peak entry that Bruce ran, and it is powered by a Porsche 911 engine. This thing was on track to win at Pikes Peak, but a spectator ended up being in the middle of the track and caused Bruce to spin and had a restart, but he still finished second. So this could have been a Pikes Peak record holder, but spectator had to ruin that. Next up, we have a 1974 Porsche 3.0 RSR. So this is only one of about 30 built, and this was a George Lewis ran car. John Fitzpatrick drove in it, and this won Le Mans in class in 1975, so in the GT category. So this is actually the first works RSR chassis ever built, and as you can see, it's in its George Lewis racing team configuration. There's another George Lewis car down the road. Next up, we have a 1 of 10 works Porsche 934.5, and this one finished third overall at Daytona 24 in 1979. Bruce actually drove it in period with Rick Mears, Monte Shelton. As you can see, it's got Palomar sponsor on the back, Garrettson Enterprises. So 934.5 is pretty much in between a 934 and a 935. 934 stands for 930 Group 4. 935 is 930 Group 5, so this is kind of in between. 1 of 10. As you can see, if you haven't seen the blue 934.5 that's here, which is looks like a 934. This is what the bodywork usually look like on 934.5. It's got way wider flares. I've got the wing set up. And this was an American ran car. Next up, we have 935 Kramer K4 chassis 001. So this was originally ran in Europe as a Jägermeister ran car, and it was later taken in John Fitzpatrick, J. David livery, and eventually ended up running a Lombra livery. So this is in its most winning configuration. One of only 2 935 Kramer K4s ever built. The second one is also here at the shop. That was a Interscope car, but it never ran because Interscope ran the Lola T600 instead. So one of only two, and both of them are here. I mean, you can really see how much wider this is compared to that. I mean, it's huge. These things practically ran 962 engines. You can see big turbos. Just a beast. Next up is one of the most, if not the most well-known car owned by Canepa. This is 917 chassis 15. This won the 1970 Daytona 24 Hours. I'm pretty sure Gunner Racing restored this car in the early 2000s, and Bruce got his hands on it. I've actually had the pleasure to get behind the steering wheel of this car.
Ethan, we're gonna back it in, so we're gonna stay straight and go right when I tell you to.
All right. Not really drive it, but I got to move it from one part of the shop to the next. Small cockpit, but pretty comfortable. Pretty comfortable. As you can see, they had to have a spare tire, even though it's way too small to even fit on the car, just for rules and regulations. So in the 1971 Inter Series, this car was converted into a Spider. Not quite like this. This was the year after, but in 71, the roof was chopped off and it ran a twin turbo engine. So this very car was pretty much the development into the 91710, because this ran a twin turbo in the Inter Series. So it's pretty much the evolution of the 91710 and 91730 from this car. And I'm guessing when Gunner got their hands on it, they converted it back into the Daytona winter spec. And moving from one 917 to the next, we got a 91710. So this is also a JLO racing team car, such as the 3.0 down there. These things are pretty much unrestricted 917s. This is completely different than this. And you can see right down here, it's got some twin turbos on it versus the flat 12, naturally aspirated. So these things are pretty much unrestricted Can-Am beasts. This could run over 1100 horsepower on slicks. This thing could do 0 to 100 miles an hour in 2.9 seconds, just faster than most modern cars, 0 to 60. And it could do 0 to 200 in about 12 seconds. I think those stats alone say how fast these cars really were. So this is Porsche 962 chassis 002. The second of the works cars. You can see there. So this car in 1985 ran 10 races in the championship, winning 3 of them under Jackie Hicks and Jochen Moss. This one, Mugello, Silverstone, and Selangor. It also ran at Le Mans in a long tail trim, but it finished 10th after having some mechanical problems. So pretty much huge difference between 956s and 962s is the driver's feet are behind the front axle. In the 956, they were in front of the axle, so for safety issues, they had to put their feet back to run them in the US and etc. moving on, this is the newest restoration completed at Canepa. This ran at the 1968 Sebring 12 hours and finished second overall behind another 907, which finished first. That car is owned by Revs Institute in Florida. So this is the second place winning car. Freshly restored, just went to Amelia Island not too long ago, got first in class. And you may be wondering what this is. So at Sebring in the nighttime, there's no lights around like Daytona, so it was really dark. And this is actually like an LED light up. So when the car goes by, you could see the number. Ground up restoration. See right here, a little remake of the Sebring inspection sticker. Pretty much perfect. Another thing I think they're going to do eventually is make these front wheels bigger. So sometimes they'd run these smaller 13-inch wheels in the front and they have 15s in the rear. But I think at Sebring they ran 15 inches all around. So eventually these front wheels will probably be moved to 15s and it'll definitely sit a lot nicer, fill in those wheel gaps. So here we have a Penske ran Mark Donahue driven Javelin, and it's actually shares some similarities with the Porsche 917s. So Penske was pretty smart, and for Trans Am rules, they could run parts that were on the road cars, so they had to use AMC parts. And what Penske did is they took brakes off of a 917 and stamped it under AMC. So they ran 917 brakes on a AMC Javelin. And this specific car, this is the first one built, and it actually has the original plate. So they drive this thing to the track. Roger Penske for president. So yeah, this plate was discovered randomly in some old warehouse, and somehow able to track it down and get it back on the car. These things take a lot of muscle to move around. I mean, there's no steering assistance at all. It's all just rough. And yeah, this car finished second the 1970 Trans Am Championship, and later in 1971 Penske won with all new cars. Here is a original Gurney Eagle. I don't know the full history on this specific chassis, but super iconic Dan Gurney Eagle. So here is a kart era IndyCar PPG Chevy V8 twin turbo. Remove before flight. Like the legendary Corey Clock mentioned, it's kind of like a jet fighter, the way it has like exhaust coming out right there.
F-117.
Yeah, F-117. Got.
This is in the famous Vince Granatelli color.
Oh yeah.
The same color that Mario Andretti won the Indy 500 for Vince in 1969.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the turbo's buried somewhere down there. Can't really see it. pretty high tech. Got the heat shields. I think it was the best era of the IndyCar.
On the front wing, but like all around the nose.
Oh yeah.
These decals to flush.
I think that's for like better airflow.
Yeah. And the chrome, the beautiful chrome suspension.
Yeah, he was mentioning they use these stickers to put over the bolts for better flow to keep everything flush. Because obviously you could adjust these if you want for more downforce or less downforce. So, pretty cool.
So instead of having like a tall, like cooler, like radiator cooler, they were long and low.
Yeah.
So the air is drawn in here and it's cooling the whole package from way back here. That's cooling the electronics too. This is like your Bosch. Oh, well, this is Delco, but it's your
ECU and stuff.
yeah.
Pretty advanced. We have an Audi R15. So this car didn't win Le Mans, but it's presented in its Le Mans livery, this specific car. It's the only R15 in private hands. I mean, when it comes to Le Mans and Audi, it's pretty amazing what they've been able to do. I think 13 years and they won like 10 times. It's got a Sebring sticker. Yeah, I mean, during Audi's time, they only lost really 2 times to the Bentley and the Peugeot. But I mean, even the Bentley Speed 8 had an Audi power plant. And then eventually when the Porsche came around, the 919 kind of wiped the Audi R18s out. So this was the last Audi prototype that was open top before the R18s came in. V10 turbo diesel. I like how the lights are integrated into this wing. Super thin. All ground effects. But I mean, then again, you compare Audi's Le Mans history to Porsche. Audi kind of had the technology to really develop these cars, and most of Porsche's Le Mans ones were all hand-drawn, hand-designed, hand-engineered cars. So they're both impressive in both ways, since all of Audi's competition had the technology to make these cars, but they made the most dominant ones. And Porsche made everything they could hand-drawn.
Suspension pieces. So that's why they put these panels on. It's to hide the suspension, but it also, I'm sure, creates a little downforce.
Yeah.
But it would be more efficient to cut through the air without those panels, right? Wow.
This is grip tape, so you could get in and out of the car without stepping on a pure carbon fiber. Pretty crazy. So I could spend all day going through all these cars, but to be honest, I don't know a lot about these, so just gonna give you a quick walkthrough. SoCal Speed Shop, salt flat car, 800 horsepower sprint car, very well-known Ford Torino. Very neat little Fiat. Pretty special 1959 Austin Healey. Got a lot of interesting motorcycles and memorabilia. Got a go-kart over there, 962 engine. I know a lot of you guys are probably going to be disappointed I'm not going through these in detail, but I'll show them. I think this is like the prettiest one in the lineup. These are those OG Indy cars before they looked like that. This got a second place at the Indy 500 in 1953. Parnelli Jones. And I think that is going to conclude this tour. Got a very dangerous, very safe looking drag car here. Just got the engine in front of you. If it blows up in your face, then no big deal. That is going to conclude this walkthrough. And in it, on what we came in with, absolutely magnificent.